Thank you for joining me today for another episode of the Healthy AF podcast. With me is Cassidyy Atkins, a longtime friend, actually my podcast producer, and who's been a huge or tremendous influence on me in creatively in my business for over 2 years now. I think 2.5 years. I mean, so I can't say enough about Cassidyy, but that's not why we're here. That's not why we have her here, because Cassie has her own project that I'm excited to share with you guys. Cassie, welcome to the show you've been producing for all so long.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. It's cool to be on this side of the mic.
Absolutely. I'm glad to have you here. We've been talking about this for a while. So, Cassidyy, actually, other than being a tremendous creative resource for a lot of entrepreneurs and a podcast producer, she has this kind of the secret, I don't say secret, but a secret love and hobby. And that is she's an amazing cook. She loves to cook. She has created something that I can't wait to share with you guys because it's in line with everything we talk about here on Healthy AF, which is animal-based foods and cooking without seed oil. So before I go into it too much more, I'm just gonna let you talk about it. Cassidyy, what tell us about your project you finally of your personal love that you're bringing to us today.
Yeah, thanks so much. I'm super excited. As you alluded to, we own a podcast company and we help entrepreneurs with media and all that kind of stuff. And so that is primarily what people know me for. But if you actually know me, if you're a friend or if you've ever been to around my house or anything like that, you know that I love to cook. That's one of those things that I've actually loved since I was a kid. It's one of those things I just did naturally. I remember growing up, me and my sister would have different chores and we'd have to do certain things. And one of them was making dinner. We each had to make dinner once a week, right? And so I always thought it was fun. I never complained. I thought it was cool to go to the grocery store and pick out ingredients and look at recipes, and just assemble it because it's kind of like arts and crafts in the kitchen if you really, think about it. And so I've always naturally loved to cook, but I really started falling in love with whole food cooking, single ingredient cooking when I started dating my husband, Daniel. And so we would go out to dinners and, I actually wasn't a big steak person until we started dating because I never had a great steak actually. And so I remember like the first time I had a filet mignon, like on one of our dates and it was, medium rare. And I was like, no way. I was definitely one of those people that was like, no pink in the middle, all that kind of
Mm.
stuff. But I had a real filet when we were dating. And obviously you just can't look back after that. But, I'm kinda joking, but it's true, we fell in love, around all these amazing tables with steaks and all this ruminant meat, and, we just had this, like, celebration, we fell in love and we fell in love hard, and when we got, married, we went on a honeymoon, and we went to this little spa, and at this, spa was all, gourmet farm fresh, just insanely incredible food came with our like honeymoon package. And so each and every meal, like the eggs in the morning were like farm fresh, like the chickens were on the same property, kind
Mm.
of thing. And so it was just this really amazing experience. And every meal came with an appetizer, a main course, a dessert, and each of them were just so incredible and so unique and all really simple beautiful whole food ingredients. And it was so crazy because we would talk to the chef and be like, "Oh my gosh, this is so great." It would be like goat brie cheese or something like that that just was so like divine. I know that sounds funny, but it's like the simple ingredients that they were using were just brought to just this incredible level through technique and through cooking. And it was funny because we would ask the chef like, "What's the secret ingredient to this one?" And they would be like, "Oh, it's butter." And so that's kind of another story for another time. But as we became entrepreneurs and we got married, we would travel into different states, and we'd always try to get our hands on the fanciest restaurant we could find, wherever we were traveling. And it was like this theme kind of carried throughout from our honeymoon. It's like when you go to these fine restaurants, you actually realize that they're using the same basic ingredients over and over and over again. It's fine meats, it's fruits, it's dairies, it's spices, it's real salt, It's all of these different things. And so when you really look at the finest food on earth, it was crazy when we met you in 2019 because we started doing your podcast and you were talking about, animal meat and how it was so good for you and, just the different bioavailable nutrients in whole foods. And it was funny because my husband was producing your show at the very beginning. He was helping me out with some production and he was like, "You got to listen to this guy for real. Like, he's totally right." And we were never those people that were anti meat. I grew up in Texas. My husband's from England. But I grew up in Texas, so you can't be anti-meat, when
No.
you're from Texas. And so I never really considered like the plant-based propaganda or anything like that. I didn't think it was actually working until I listened to your show as well. And so it was just kind of this cool moment when we realized like, oh my gosh, the foods we love the most, we'd go to these cities, we'd go to these restaurants, and then we would come back and try to make these dishes at home in our own kitchen. And then we found your show and we were like, oh my gosh, these are actually the most nutrient dense foods on earth, right? And so that's always a pleasant surprise when you realize that you're doing something amazing for yourself. And so you just taught us so much about animal based protein. My husband started doing some coaching with you, and you trained me for a competition last year. And so you've been such a big part of our health journey in various different ways. And I'm sure we'll go into that a little bit. But just really what you've taught us about whole food cooking, single ingredients, getting seed oils, out of our lives and just doing what it takes to achieve optimal health by the choices that we make in the kitchen is has really changed our lives. And so we started Cook with Real Food. And so that is the big project we've been working on. That's kind of the origin story. And so Cook with Real Food, we're gonna have videos, podcasts, it's a cookbook, it's all the different things that we've learned and created through this whole food, journey. And so it definitely wouldn't happen without Zane. And so
No.
we just want to be the premier resource for making real food and helping people get seed oils out of their lives.
That's awesome. That's amazing. Yeah, I've watched it kind of come full circle, really. It's been fun to watch and hear you talk about this, and I'm looking forward to being able to share it. Because there's so many people who want that. They ask me, "Do you have recipes? Do you?" And I'm not a. I mean, I make my own food all the time. I'm always cooking, but I'm not a fancy cook. Like you wouldn't be interested in seeing what I eat. Mine looks like meal prep. It's not. It's not interesting. It's not like fun. It's not something you're going to lay out for your family at the table. So to have this as a resource from you, really, I'm really excited about sharing, but also just to see what you create because we've been talking about this so long to see create something from this, just the foundation of a healthy food. I'm looking forward to it, and again, sharing it with other people so they have that resource because it's like come from me. It's just not. You got to have that creative joy in making food to really create something that's like you have the health coming in with the art of it to create something that's really tasty and looks good and all that. So it's just I don't have the art. And so I'm so glad you do, and I can't wait to see it. When are you expecting to have this ready? It's coming soon, I hope.
Yeah, well, yeah, by the time everyone hears this, it's all gonna be live, so the links are gonna be in the show notes.
Oh, great.
And so, yeah, it's gonna be amazing because, there is something to say about the way you eat the Zaid. Like, he really is amazing. And I would say, well, I wanna be careful how I say this because most people in the animal-based community would totally call me a faker when it comes to being animal-based. And so I would say that we largely eat an animal-based diet.
Mhm.
We eat a lot of, if you were to look at the animal-based shopping list or whatever, the vast majority of what we're eating normally is coming from that list, right? And so I
Mhm.
would say we're pretty sloppy animal-based. I'll be generous with that. But we primarily do have an animal-based diet. And so what's fun about Cook with Real Food though is it's definitely not diet food, but it is real food. And so if you love to cook like I do, or if you just love food in general, you want to have some of your favorite dishes. And so we have fun things like, beef tikka masala or chicken nuggets or, like a really solid stew and stuff like that. We even have a seed oil free simple loaf if you want bread in the house, if you want to do
Mm.
that. And so it's definitely not necessarily low carb or low fat or macros
Right.
or anything like that really isn't considered. It's just how to make your favorite dishes, in different ways without seed oils, with all real food in your house. And so I love the way that, you cook and you even inspire me to get even more discipline on the animal based side of stuff. It's so really just how can we take these the most bioavailable, nutrient dense foods on the planet and put it in ways that aren't going to kill you.
Right. And still enjoyable. And like you said, you could lay it out for your family and they're not going to know any better. They just know they're eating a really good meal, but they may not even ever realize how, the difference until they taste it and go, well, this is so different. This is because when I serve food, like when I make things like that my kids might normally have from a bag at the grocery store, and I make it at home with, like, say, animal fats, they're like, oh my gosh, this is the best whatever I've had. And I'm like, because I cooked it in lard, or I cooked it in tallow, or I used butter instead of whatever the oil was you're getting from the store. And they notice it in the flavor first. And then I thought, okay. And that's really, I think people are gonna, when they dig into this kind of way of cooking, they're gonna notice that. Then that's because that's what you notice when you're going to the restaurant. It's like, well, what's the secret ingredient? It's butter. Oh, because nobody else uses butter in restaurants. They're all using cheap canola oil or cheap, some kind of cheap soybean oil. And so when you start putting real ingredients in, people notice it, even if it's subconsciously. They're like, oh my gosh, it tastes so good. They don't know what it is because it's like how we used to cook 100 years ago. And I think that's amazing. You brought that into the modern place with things like chicken nuggets or an Indian dish or something like that, where you have like a more modern or more fun, more contemporary dish, but done in a traditional way. And I think that's the
Yeah.
best way. You're not trying to fit into a dietary dogma. You're just like, let's just use real food. It's cook with real foods. I mean, yeah,
Yeah, exactly. And I love the animal-based community. You know this, Zane,
yeah,
but I lost 30 plus pounds going on an
yeah,
animal-based diet. And so, there's a lot to gain from it. And especially from an elimination standpoint, there's so many great stories that people have great breakthrough and stuff with this,
yeah,
that type of eating. But at the end of the day, I do think there's a big hole in the animal-based community. I think that there's like this we're all raw meats and liver and honey and all this kind of stuff. There's a lot of bad representation of the community online. And
right,
so having a normal approach, I want to say, I don't want to, maybe normal isn't the right word, but having just a more palatable approach for people to get more animal-based protein in their diet in familiar ways without seed oils. That's really what I wanted to do, because I remember when I first started learning about seed oils and how dangerous they are for you. And for years, you had to make the decision to get out of a seed oil free lifestyle.
yeah.
Then it will start paying off over years. We started giving up seed oils in 2019. And then I really didn't see the big, big benefit of it until 2021. Because correct me if
Mm.
I'm wrong, it takes 7 years, right, for seed oils to leave your body? Same?
Well, yeah, the half life is just over 2. So
Okay.
if you think about it, if you have half and then another half, and then so yeah, I mean, to get down to where a normal amount would be, where a normal amount of that fat in your body, it could easily take 7 years, depending on the concentration that's in your system. So yeah, that's not a bad estimation at all.
Yeah, it's so crazy. And so just figuring out ways to get out seed oils, was really my primary focus, even over animal protein, I would say for a while. I was like, how can I just get all these seed oils out of our lives? Because I remember going through our kitchen and it was like, oh my gosh, this is in everything, from seasonings to powdered ingredients to boxed ingredients, of course, the chips. But what was really alarming to me was the health foods. We would get healthy boxed foods or healthy chips or,
Mm,
whatever. The macros might be right or the label might be white and green and look all healthy, right? But when you turn it around, even if it's low carb or whatever, it still had seed oils in it. It still
right.
wasn't real food. And so, not only are you going to get recipes and all the stuff that I've created over the years, but we're also going to have my favorite seed oil free shopping list and just different tips and tricks of how I avoid seed oils and still eat great food all the time.
Mm,
And so that's one part of the brand I'm really excited about, is just to bring in just some ideas and show people how easy it can be to get seed oils out of their diet. Because that's one thing I hear a lot from people when I talk about seed oils is like, oh, they're in everything. And it's like they say that in a way of like, it's an excuse not to try to get rid of them. It's like,
right.
how can I avoid something that's everywhere? It's kind of like the victim mentality they take, but it's like, between the internet and just people waking up more and more, like there's ways to get items and ways to get your favorite items in a seed oil free version. Like there's cookies and all sorts of stuff that's hitting the shelves.
Right.
Like anything even your kids could want. That's a big objection as well. It's like, well, what am I going to feed the kids? I'm not going to give them
Right.
steak all the time. It's like, no, there's ways to live seed oil free
Oh
and
yeah.
get enough protein if you're willing to do it. And so
Right.
I did all the research. All you have to go, all you have to do is go look at it. It's so that's what part I'm really excited about.
Awesome. And it's in a PDF form, correct?
Yes. Yeah, it's in a
So it's
PDF
something
form and you can grab it in the show notes. The link's up there and you can dive in.
great. So you get it immediately. That's awesome. Wow. Cassidy, it's amazing. I know we've been talking about this for a while, but it's great to see it come to fruition. It's like, again, I can't wait to share it because it's not my strength, but it's definitely something I appreciate and would try myself as I'm trying to get my kids to eat more and more, be more aware of these things. But I just see a huge part of the animal-based community that does want those special meals or just a meal, like you said, for their family, where it's maybe not so strict on their diet, but it's still whole food. And they feel good about serving it to their family because it's healthy for them. And so, and there's no toxins swimming in there that are unseen or unknown. So awesome. You're serving the community.
Awesome. Well, it definitely wouldn't have happened without you, my friend. So thank you so much for all your
Sure
hard
thing.
work, not only on this show, but behind the scenes, coaching you've given me, advice, resources. Zane is really a wealth of knowledge. It's crazy, like how much you know about this space. And so thank you so much. So much of the cookbook wouldn't have happened without you. And maybe we'll tell the story one day, but Zane was
Sure thing.
actually a secret partner. He was actually a part of Cook with Real Foods at the beginning. And so it's just so I just can't even like find words to express how thankful I am for you. And you helped build so much of this even just through your knowledge and just willingness to give and show up, on your podcast each and every day. It's crazy to be the podcast producer because it's like you're helping like edit the show, but you really are learning as well. And so it's just
Mm.
such an amazing you know, it had to have been God for you to come into our life in 2019, and then I get to spend hundreds of hours just learning from you and everything like, it's just Cook with Real Food wouldn't have happened without you, that's all I'm trying to say.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I've gotten so much from you guys in the terms of business and getting my message out that I would have been clueless about. So I feel like it's been a definitely an exchange of skill sets with each other as we built this friendship. So you and your husband Daniel, it's been tremendous. So great relationship, and I can't. I'm happy to be the one to tell the world about it for the first time. So it's very exciting and a proud moment for me as well. So thank you. Wow. Cassidy, where's the best place? So it'll be in the show notes, website,
Yeah,
YouTube page. What we got
yeah,
going on here?
everything on social is at Cook with Real Food, or you can connect with me directly on X at The Real Food Cook.
Awesome, Cassidy. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you sharing this with me and being allowing me to be the first one to break it to the world. I can't, and of course, I'm gonna, we're constantly talking stuff, but this is gonna be fun. I can't wait to get it out there. So thanks
Yeah,
so much.
thanks so much for having me.